Okay, as we begin chapter 6, we do cover several different topics, and one of them is involving functions. It is called a function composition or composition of functions. First, we're going to look at evaluating a composite function. So, one thing you got to get used to here is just the way it's written. Okay, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. Uh, you know, Basically what you're going to have are two functions. And if you look at f is one function, g is another, that little symbol there, that little circle, that means f composed with g of x. Okay. And it can be also written like this, which kind of indicates that whatever g of x equals, it's going to become now the x that goes into the function f. So try to avoid the confusion and thinking this means multiplication, because it's not, because this indicates a composition of two functions. So basically this just means that we will evaluate the function when we are evaluating these inside for the given value of x, and then we will use that value to substitute in the other. So that's when we have a value for the x. When this is a number, we will first figure out, okay, what is the value given the function g when x is a certain number. We get that answer, and then we put it into f. So let's look at a few examples here. So we have our two functions, and we want to find f of g of 1. So we are actually finding here f of g of 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find g of 1 first. So g of 1 is 4 times 1. So g of 1 is 4. So thinking about g of 1, since it's 4, next find f of 4. So f of 4 is 2 times 4 squared minus 3. So use your calculator for this. Enter it in just like you see it here, because 4 squared is 16 times 2 is 32 minus 3 is 29. So what I end up with is f composed with g of 1 is 29. So that's where we go. We only have one answer. It just so happens that we had to evaluate g first to get that final answer. Going in the other direction, if I want to find g of 1, or excuse me, g of f of 1, this can also be written as g of f of 1, and this may help you understand what to do first. Sometimes students get confused and they do it backwards. I always say whatever function is closest to the number, you do first. So I'm going to do f of 1 first. So f of 1 is 2 times 1 squared minus 3. Evaluating that, I get negative 1. So now find g of negative 1. And g of negative 1 is 4 times negative 1, which is negative 4. So what I can say is that g composed with f of negative 1 is negative 4. Okay, again, try not to overcomplicate things. Just realize that you're just putting numbers into functions. Here we're just composing f with itself. So I will rewrite this as f of negative 2. So f of negative 2 is 2 times negative 2 squared minus 3. Evaluating that using your calculator, negative 2 squared is 4, times 2 is 8, minus 3 is 5. So I'm halfway done. Now I must find f of 5. So f of 5 is 2 times 5 squared minus 3. Evaluating this or simplifying this, 5 squared is 25, times 2 is 50, minus 3 is 47. So I know that f composed with f of negative 2 is 47. So just keep in mind which function to evaluate first, and you're only getting one number as your final answer. Okay, so that is my final answer. Last, now we just compose g with itself. So what I'm going to find is g composed with g of negative 1. So g of negative 1 is 4 times negative 1, which is negative 4. Now to finish, I find g of negative 4, and g of negative 4 is 4 times negative 4, which is negative 16. So I know that g composed with g of negative 1 is negative 16. Okay, so that's your final answer. So that's what we do, when we are evaluating composite functions. We're going to be getting a number as our answer. A true composition of functions, which we're going to do next, does not have a number as its answer. So a true composition of functions is where we substitute one function into another function. So the notation indicating a composition of functions is sometimes written as this. The way it was written the other way because we had numbers. So oftentimes you're just going to see f composed with whatever, or g composed with whatever, or whatever letters they give you. Now what this means is kind of what we had in the last examples with that number there, and how I went ahead and rewrote it as this. And I do think changing the way it's written to this might make it a little easier for you to understand what's going on. So basically we would substitute the equation for g of x in for all x's in f of x. That's what this means. So let's see how it works. So if I want to find f composed with g, really what I am finding is f composed with g of x. Well, g of x is 3x. So f of 3x equals 2 times 3x minus 1. Again, I am substituting 3x into that x right there. So I should write my parentheses correctly. Sorry about that. So again, I am substituting 3x in for this x right here. And then I simplify. So f of 3x is 6x minus 1. And that's as far as you go. We did problems similar to these back in chapter 3, and I warned y'all not to be like setting things equal to 0, and some of y'all still did it, so try to pay attention this time and make sure you just stop right here. You're done. Now let's compose it the other direction to where we are doing G composed with F. So I rewrite it showing it's a composition G with F of X. So I'm going to put F of X into G. So F of X is 2x minus 1, and that equals 3 times the entire 2x minus 1, because G is 3x. So G of 2x minus 1 is 6x minus 3. Okay, and again, just stop. Don't cause yourself more work. All right, so those are, not easy, but a little more, a little less involved, I would say, than the next examples we're going to do. And the reason for it is you've got an equation, a quadratic function with 2 x's. So, you don't forget you're replacing all x's with whatever you're substituting into that. So if I want to find f composed with g, again, I am finding f of g of x, which means I am finding f of 2x plus 3. So this can be difficult because f of 2x plus 3 equals 2x plus 3 squared plus 3 times 2x plus 3 minus 1. So let's see what we've done here. The 2x plus 3 now takes place of our x. So we square whatever our x is, which is what we did here. We then take whatever our x is times 3, which we did here. Then we subtract the 1. The rest is, your algebra skills. So when we square something, we multiply it by itself. Use your FOIL method. So you get 4x squared plus 6x plus 6x plus 9 plus another 6x plus another 9 minus 1. Then just combine like terms. So I've got 6x plus 6x plus 6x is 18x. I've got 9 plus 9 is 18 minus 1 is 17. So again, anytime you're doing a evaluation of a function or a composition of functions, you substitute and then simplify the right side and stop right there. And so you're finished there. So that's a little more difficult just because of the operations, the squaring and the multiplying. We can also compose G with F. So I'm now going to find G of f of x, which is G of x squared plus 3x minus 1. So think about substituting now this entire expression here into G for this x. So I'm going to take 2 times the x squared plus 3x minus 1 and then plus 3. So this is now 2x plus 3. Simplify the right side and get 2x squared plus 6x minus 2 plus 3. And there we go. Okay, so, that one's a little better than the top one. Don't have to square anything. But you just have to remember what substitutes in for what, and to not make the mistake of thinking you're multiplying functions together. Don't do that. All right, last one. We're going to do G composed with G. I'm not going to do F composed with F because that would be obnoxious. But I will do G composed with G. So this is G of itself, which means I'm taking G of 2x plus 3. And again, I'm substituting 2x plus 3 in for this x in G. So that's 2 times 2x plus 3 plus 3. Again, 2x plus 3. And just go ahead and simplify the right side to get 4x plus 6 plus 3, which can be simplified down to 4x plus 9. Okay, so, this is 6.1 again, composition of functions. For those of y'all watching these, I'm hoping they're helping. And obviously for those not watching, I can't say anything anyway because you're not watching. So there you go. But anyway, we will work more of these in class. Take care.